Right, we're back with Hot Take Point Made. And as always, we're just going to dive straight into potentially the hottest take, aka probably the title. So if you clicked on this video and you're like, I want to see what's good news is happening right now. So Maui, what is the opening take of the show? What are we starting with?
All right, well, I'll just say, primer. I mean, throughout history, some of the greatest teams that we have deemed era-worthy have also held the greatest adversaries. I mean, you look at what Astralis did during their era.
Okay.
The number 2 team was Grand Slam Liquid, arguably at their peak, the highest firepower we've seen in any roster that has ever existed. Okay.
Sure.
When we look at LGSK, in both of their major playoff runs, they defeated the legendary Neo, Taz, Snacks, VP to win both of their majors. Now you look at even Fnatic, all the way back to 2013-15, both two grand finals that they won. They beat the legendary NIP roster to secure their major victories. But then we look to Vitality.
Where's he going with this?
And they have an era that's just so dominant.
It's going to be something garbage I can already tell. Come on.
Yeah, you look at their dominance, and who's really their most consistent opponent?
Come on.
It's MOUZ.
Fucking hell.
In order to solidify and add esteem to their era, they needed a better adversary. So what Vitality need to do is they need to lose a grand final to MOUZ. They need to somehow justify MOUZ's placement in the pantheon of great teams. Give them an S tier trophy, because or else we're gonna look back and you know that how people nitpick through history. They say, who did they even beat in these grand finals? Oh, a MOUZ team that had never won an S tier trophy. It's gonna devalue the later discussions down the line when we're comparing eras. I mean, it's so easy and safe still to say that Astralis is the best team of all time because they were dominant over a Liquid team that even themselves almost had a mini era with the Grand Slam. But there's really no significant achievements from MOUZ. And so in some ways, even though Vitality, we know in the moment that it's an extremely competitive era, that there's so many good teams vying, jockeying for position and trying to nip at the heels of Vitality. In reality, no one really stands up to that test. And so it would be beneficial to Vitality and historians of the future if they lose a grand final to MOUZ, just to justify MOUZ's position as a number 2 team.
What I have to say to that is fuck the losers. Like, I don't care if they're weak. Like, why would my era be diminished because I'm beating them all the time? Like, why is my era diminished because they're too weak to beat me and they're all making changes? Maybe not MOUZ, but like other teams are making changes, creating super teams, doing all kind of crazy shit, and they still cannot beat us. And that's why my era is not going to be remembered as the Astralis one or the other one. Also, you kind of contradicted yourself a little bit there. Maybe it was a long day for you and you feel a little bit tired, or maybe you're just crazy. One of those two. But the thing is, when you mentioned the other eras, like the Astralis, the SK, and Fnatic, you talked about who they beat in the playoffs, but when you mentioned Vitality, you said, like, who did they beat in the finals? So is it the playoffs or the finals?
Playoffs. They're beating MOUZ in about half the playoffs.
But they beat everybody else as well. Maybe MOUZ a little bit more because of the draws like that, but still, like, they beat everybody else. For me, like, I don't know. I wouldn't downsize or downgrade Vitality's dominance in the last 15, 16 months now? 15 months maybe?
12 months, roughly. Well, 13 months.
13 months. Okay, 13 months by any argument, because they beat every single team almost every single time. Like, they have no team that can actually cause problems to them all that much. They had couple of best of 5s close against. Who was one against MOUZ, one against Falcons.
Yeah.
They lost to Furia in Shanghai, but that was before them. Every important best of 5, every important best of 3, they won against everyone. That's the definition of an era there. MOUZ is not even in the conversation at all. MOUZ just happened to be what do you call it? Like those actors that just appear there just to be there. Like,
cameos. Cameos.
Yeah, just appearing there, right? They have nothing to show for. Like, they have one PGL event, similar to Falcons, but Falcons are more high-profile players, so we pay more attention to them. But they're pretty much the same. They're just like there. Who can contest them? The Spirit that won something, Navi that maybe won something, Vitality won nothing. Not Vitality, sorry. MOUZ won nothing. And who else was there? Falcons, they won one event. Like, who else?
It's really just big. It's just like Spirit, Falcons, Furia, and MOUZ.
And Furia. Okay, Furia, they had 3-4 events, but more of them is like 2. It's really 2 events. When you think about the Thunderpick and Fisher, are those really events? Do you want to consider them like as a tier?
Yeah, of course. They're of a lesser caliber than like the IEM or Blast.
But IEM is a legit one. Blast, I can call a legit one because they had a
quality of teams was quite high.
Yeah, everybody was there. So it's a legit victory. But outside of that, finals in Krakow, which is, I guess, all right. Because nobody expected them to be the main contenders there. So overall, you are right in a sense that they had no opposition to match them. But that just proves that they're, one of the greatest teams that's played this game. Definitely the best team in CS2. And they can definitely be compared to Astralis 2017, 18, and I guess 19.
Right, the problem is, remember, you've done the classic thing, kassad, again, where what you've done is given your opinion about Vitality and MOUZ, whereas actually Maui's hot take, remember the mechanism, was that in the future, historians will look back and they'll just see that Vitality won basically all the events, and especially in the case of MOUZ, that they basically beat them every time, except for like that semi-final of Cologne, which MOUZ didn't even go on to win, and if they'll just ask, like, think about what's obviously spurring this take, kassad, isn't just beating them today, it's that aside from Vitality, actually MOUZ is the other team with the most semi-finals in the last year or so. So the joke is they should be the team Liquid to the Astralis of Vitality in this case. And actually, I do think one of the few things people have that they can diss Astralis in is like, cause Liquid never beat them until the next year when the rosters had changed and they'd even taken the break, etc. You never really can look at that and go, what an awesome rivalry. It's why actually, if anything, the fact that the Astralis took themselves out, it's the other way around. It's Liquid that has to wonder would Astralis and what if they'd have come to all the tournaments. Actually, everyone look back and they'll say it's weak, even though, by the way, that's not totally true. Like, I'll put it this way, I know how pro player mentality works. I'm pretty sure the whole reason that FaZe Clan roster even broke up is because Astralis was too good, and they were beating them every time, and they'd already had the conflict with Carrigan and Nico, so they just swapped them out the roster. Like, that's one of those moves you make because you can't get on top and the other team's slightly better, Like, I think it's why Na'Vi made all those hasty moves the next year, and like, fucking eventually Zeus had to leave, and they brought in Blade, so I do think people actually slightly underrate the Astralis one. Like, yes, true, Liquid lost a billion times, but actually everyone lost to that team at that point in time, and some of those were very good teams. I know what he means. Like, here's the reason why. I'll give you 2 sports examples where I see this all the time, and this is why Maui's right. His hot take is good because it's crucially people who didn't watch them play kassad. If we watched them, the reason why we know Vitality might be the best team ever is we can just see it with our eyes. You can just watch the game and go, fuck, this is insane what they're doing. It actually doesn't matter, as you say, how good the opposition is. They might just be any team that they played in this scenario. Like British, I'd go the other way and tell me a team from history, including Astralis, who I could bring to now and give 6 months play. Would they beat Vitality? That's actually an interesting question, but it's a hard one to say yes to. So instead, the difference is, right, I'll give you 2 teams or sports examples where actually people who do look up on Wikipedias and they didn't watch this era get it wrong every time. And in tennis, it is Roger Federer, right? Because obviously his 2 big rivals, Nadal and Djokovic. Well, Nadal came along when he was like, literally was as a teenager when Federer had already won a few slams, and it took him a few years, like 3-4 years to get to the top. And then in the case of Djokovic didn't actually become that relevant a player until like almost the end of Federer's prime, actually, like when he was just winning every tournament. And then what happened is, that's literally correct, I watched the whole sport, mate. Fuck, you barely know about CS, mate. Fuck, wind your neck in that you're going to pretend you know about tennis because some fucking guy because some guy, go on then, tell me where I'm wrong, bitch, go on, we'll take a little sidebar, tell me where I'm wrong.
You said it was by Djokovic started winning at the end of the Roger.
That's correct. What year did Djokovic get really good?
2009, 2008.
No, you're wrong. It was 2011 was the first year he was actually cracked. He won one slam before that, mate. He won one slam before that.
He won Australian Open for the first time.
Yeah,
I know.
He won one.
I know, but he was still like a very tough player.
No, you missed the point here. The point is, was Djokovic at his peak at the same time when Federer was? He wasn't. No, you missed the point there. When his prime ended was when Djokovic's prime began. So the point is, that would be like saying Vitality's better than Na'Vi because they won in 2025. Na'Vi was already done at that point in time, mate. They weren't the number 1 team anymore. They were just still a very good team, but they weren't the winners. Anyway, the point is, you've already made the mistake immediately. You've actually just proved my point for me. So the problem is, people say, how could Federer be the GOAT? Look at all the players he beat. They weren't any good. And then when you go, why weren't they any good? They go, because they didn't win any slams. Well, you know the obvious joke here, if you didn't watch it. They didn't win any slams because Roger Federer was there. Like, oh, bet you nearly all these players would have won Grand Slams if Federer wasn't there from like 2003 to 2007 or whatever it was. Like, he used to just routinely beat all the other top 5 players. And the problem he had was what Maui's pointing out. He should actually have lost a few. If he'd have lost a couple and like Hewitt had won more slams or Safford had won more slams or anything, any of these players, if Roddick had won a Wimbledon, that would then have made the other Wimbledons he beat Roddick in way more valuable, because your brain would look at history and go, wait a minute, he beat a Wimbledon champion 3 other times. You'd go, fuck, he must be the best. But I know what you mean. People do disrespect Andy Roddick because they go, how good could he be with 1 Grand Slam? It's like, you do realise if Roger Federer just played 5% worse, Andy Roddick would have like 4 Wimbledons or something mental like that. Like someone say. So I know what Maui means. Their big problem is this. They not only don't beat Vitality, the one time they did do it, they didn't even win the event. Like if they'd have then won that Cologne, that would even be a spicy like angle rival. And then the other one, by the way, in basketball is the 90s Bulls. Do you know, by the way, I think this is the worst take ever in the history of sports. Modern fans think Michael Jordan played in a weak era because none of the teams in the finals ever beat them or took them to 7 games. What they don't get, because they're such noobs, is because they're looking and they're seeing Karl Malone has no ring, Charles Barkley has no ring, Patrick Ewing has no ring, they stupidly make the mistake of thinking that means they sucked. They don't realise the 90s was actually one of the best eras probably ever for superstar talent. And the joke is, when you do look at those all-star teams, they're like the greatest players to ever play basketball, mate. You can argue actually maybe the 90s was even the best players ever, like, because it's sort of the sweet spot between the games getting huge and there's millions of dollars finally, and you've got an expanded league, but you've also got mega players. You haven't got any of the like weaknesses. So anyway, I agree with Maui's take actually. Basically, the main problem here is, if you actually look in history, the joke is, MOUZ isn't even really considered their rival, is it? Like, I actually think their real rival it was either Furia recently, because they used to just beat Vitality. It's Falcons because they're supposed to, because they have all the money and they have the star players. And actually, on paper, it's probably supposed to be Spirit, isn't it? Like because of the dog factor, that's supposed. But none of these teams really live up to the billing as the rival. And so far, those 5-man rosters haven't won many trophies. I mean, as you pointed out, Furia actually, if you're looking at real STA trophies, they got 2. They don't have 4, I'm sorry. Like, 2 of those don't count in the same way. In the same way as, by the way, I won't count IM Atlanta that much for fucking Vitality when they win that inevitably. So I actually agree with the point overall. The real problem here is this. Even though to you and I, who's watching the sport, it's actually more dominant and epic that they never fucking seem to lose. And as you even pointed out, even that time they lost that like IM, they barely lost it, mate. They could have won every single map there. There was even the thing where they did the stupid veto with Ancient just to fuck with them in the final. By the way, think about that, guys. In grand finals, they're just fucking with their veto, preparing to win the major, not even trying to win that tournament they're at. Furia's going like that's their world championship. So I know what he means though. Even though to us that makes them more dominant, that they don't tend to lose like that. To a pleb looking in 10 years, it would look better if like Furia had won the last major or MOUZ had won Cologne after. It actually, in a weird way, it would make a fan think you had more competition. Even that, I actually think it's sort of a paradox, because as I say, if you're really, really dominant, it will just make people assume no one was any good, even though actually if you were the best ever, surely you would win all the time. And I know what he means about like why it does matter that you have rivals, because I do actually think, put it this way, I'll tell you an example, Kassad. This actually happens in football all the time. I'm a Liverpool fan, right? So the modern fans, people who only started watching like 4 years ago, Kassad, love to do this post where they go, everyone says Pep Guardiola and Klopp was a rivalry, but look in the Premier League, Klopp only won the Premier League once. And it's like, yeah, but do you not know that stat that like 2 times Liverpool came second in the Premier League with a number of points that would have won like 90% of Premier Leagues ever in any other season? So the point there, as Maui's point out, is like, you can actually be the one that wins all the time, but maybe the second best guy was like the second best in history, but his problem is because he's in your era, he doesn't have a chance to win any titles. So I know what I actually think, but it's a good take, Maui, because as usual, 1, it actually is a reasonable take, but 2, at the beginning it sounds so mad. Like, it will be a good headline. Basically, the headline is like, Vitality need to lose to MOUZ for the sake of history or something mad, some angle like that, I think, right? You know, I
mean, the most disrespected team in what I consider the modern era CS going on is obviously NIP. They were so dominant that everybody calls all of their opponents plumbers.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's still legendary players that they faced up against. And yeah, like when we go back to that era, the scene was a lot different. Okay, people weren't getting nearly the salaries that they were getting, so it was more of a passion-fueled industry at that time. But it is just completely people take it out of the conversation always about what is the best era ever. It's basically just a 2-horse race right now between Astralis and Vitality as modern conversations are evolving. but nobody even considers NIP's era. And I get it. I totally get it. I probably wouldn't even consider them myself, but I think that if they had lost maybe a couple times throughout that 87-0 streak, it might have actually made that era feel a little bit more competitive than it actually was, and might have even put more...
the joke is they needed to lose the very games or something, didn't they? That it would have made it seem competitive. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, if Very Games won a couple more S-tier lands ahead of NIP took them down, it would have made NIP's run look actually like they weren't just playing plumbers.
Yes.
Which they weren't, which they totally
No, they weren't. And also, people do make the mistake with NIP, where they take the 87-0 part, which I always tell people, that's about 6 months. But the point is, they still remained like top 2 for like the next year and a half. So they actually were into the era with Flusher and Device and all these, but it's just that people, they blur between the two. Like a lot of people actually think the 87-0 was like 2 years or something. It's like, I think use your brain, mate. It was online matches as well. It wasn't all even live.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, let's not forget that NIP had the access to the game way before everybody else. Like, let's not take that out of the equation. Remember that part when they had the access to the game first, and they could like play and study it and whatever. It gave them a little bit of an edge. Wouldn't you think? 87-0, yeah. I mean,
I watched those tournaments. I watched those tournaments in the last
played
couple
those
of years.
Tournaments.
Yeah, they even said in interviews at those tournaments how many thousands of hours they had versus other people, and they were I forgot what tournament it was. It might have even been in an HLTV interview, so people could still actually more easily go back and verify this. But I'm pretty sure they had, say, 1,000 hours more than sometimes their second place competitor.
I lost to them in like that right call ESL 1, whatever that was. That was a part of 87-0, I think. So they were like above everyone else. Like in the CS2, everybody came in with the same amount of everything.
Yeah,
pretty much. And
much more even playing field, of course.
And it's not just the players; it's just the whole vitality thing, like with the organization and the transfers and like whole building around the team. They didn't just pop up as the best team. They took years, to become what they are right now. I don't want to. That's why I kind of disagree. I know what you mean down the road. Then Duncan explained and you explained. For me, it's just about now, and I don't want now to people to like kind of downgrade by a single % what Vitality is doing to these like teams right now in the last 12
of course.
months. It's mental. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's not even. It's absolutely unrepeatable in my.
I mean, put it this way. Think of the example I gave earlier. I actually absolutely do think if Vitality, mate, they don't even have to be don't exist. Let's just make Vitality 5% worse. They would have lost probably to the Falcons that first Melbourne one. Yes. They might have lost that. No, they might have even lost one of the major finals. There's a couple of those that were getting pretty close at time, like the fucking Mongols one. They could have blown that one maybe because he was having enough. If that had happened in a weird way, people would respect the other teams more. Because I do think the Liquid example is the best one. People just think Liquid wasn't any good. It's like, mate, Liquid used to literally take Simple's Na'Vi and fucking FaZe Clan with Eco and that and just smack them around and then go and lose to Astralis every time. Like, they actually could beat every other team. Like, in any other era, they would have won a lot of trophies.
People forget that Liquid won Dallas and Cologne in those 64 days. Dallas and Cologne, those are two major IEM events.
Sure.
Yep. So it's a big deal comparing them to MOUZ.
I mean, they also beat Astralis at EPL in route to their win at that one too.
Was it in Denmark?
No, this is the one that was the one that was in like America, I believe. No, it was in France. It was in France. There you go. It was in France.
Yeah.
Okay. It was the one at the end of the year that was in Denmark. That was the one where they won the Grand Slam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right. Anyway, do you have a spicy one?
No, I'll do it after.
Oh no, actually, I tell you what. First things first. Actually, we do have another angle, which is, as you can see here, our friends at Polymarket have a bunch of interesting markets available. So there's one here that I thought was a fun one because this is how cynical everyone's view on BC Game and Simple is. The market, right? Normally for these, I make them go to near the major or the end of the year. This is only May. So guys, literally there's only 2 and a bit months. The market says, will BC Game make a roster move before May? Now, by the way, another piece of news, there's actually now 2 different lands they're going to. They're going to Atlanta and then they're going to the PGL that everyone just turned down now. So they're already in 2 lands. So the question goes, will they make a move? At the moment, the chance, according to Polymarket traders, is 80%. Essentially, everyone pretty much just thinks, they're going to definitely make a move within the next couple of months. By the way, this is any move. Could be any player. Could even be electronic for fuck's sake, even though I imagine it's going to be someone Portuguese.
Does this include Taz? Does it include Taz also?
No, because it says roster move, so I assume roster move has to mean the 5 players.
Okay.
Yeah, I assume so. But anyway, do you agree? Before May, so before the 1st of May, is there going to be a different player in BC game?
I mean, I'll ask you one question, and I think it can answer the whole the topic. It's like, do you see Simple playing with Crazy past May? For me, I don't think this.
No,
this,
Aragorn, dude. Aragorn needs to be cut.
It should be 95% chance.
No, get Aragorn out of that roster, man. That's what I'm saying. Aragorn's my new Sausalito. On the last BC game, I just hated watching Sausalito play. Dude, every time I see Aragorn, this guy's making 15 mistakes per map. It's unbelievable. So,
but the thing is, I don't know.
He should make a roster move.
Maui. If you look at the lineup, it's Mutiris, Electronic, Simple, Aragorn, and Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Who is, besides Simple, who is doing anything in that team? Anything meaningful?
God knows.
To deliver any help to Simple.
Yeah, but that's the problem. I know what Maui means. The problem is you have to do that cynical thing where you think of it like high school and who's in the clique and who's not, right? So if you look at this roster, we assume Electronic's safe because why is he even in the roster? It must have been Simple on some level said, let the guy come and, I know how to play with him or some bullshit. So there's that part. And I imagine, I'll give you the obvious angle. Here's my analogy. Within BC game, I think Simple and Electronic are playing the role that fucking Yekindar and Twists played when Twist was the IGL of Liquid, and it looked like they just decide everything. And the joke is, you never kick them all them because they're behind the door. They're the ones going, and then we kick the other guy. Yes, after this turn, right? So anyway, I assume he's not kicking Electronic. Then Materis, they need an IGL. They're not getting any big IGL, so he's probably staying, isn't he? So my joke would be, it doesn't matter who. Remember, this doesn't say which person. The scene in The Dark Knight where the guy he takes a pool cue and he snaps it and he goes, "We're holding tryouts," and he gives two guys a pool cue, and the idea is they have to fight to the death, and one gets. That's what they're going to do. So I don't know who it's going to be, Kassad, but Crazy and Aragorn are going to be in that fight to the death. And you know what? I agree with the traders on Polymarket. I believe also one of them will not be wearing these colours on the 1st of May. I believe. But I think that's. I don't. What's funny is that's actually such a cynical time for him. But I think it's bang on. I think they probably have one more month, mate. They probably get the next lad and then they're out immediately. You know what I mean?
It's great because it's in 40 days. It's not even that far.
Yeah.
It's they just played one event, maybe one more they're going to play, and that's it. For me, it looks like the Simple got high with the owner of this team.
Yeah, they're going to be. They go. PGL Bucharest is before then. So that's in April. So after that event, one of them is down with this roster, mate. So I hope they enjoy PGL Bucharest. Enjoy Bucharest. Have some chirapi and stuff. Fucking enjoy the scenery. Because by the way, you will be back. There isn't even a saw anymore. I don't know where you'll be. I don't know. Try and join a Brazilian team. Who the fuck knows at this point, mate? But it's done for you. You're cooked. You're cooked at this point. So we all agree it is going to happen, innit? No naysayers.
I would say 100%.
I know. I feel like that's a reasonable one. Okay, anyway, we'll keep you updated. We'll again check in later on. Okay, Kassad, do your take. What's it going to be?
Let's go. I was thinking two different directions, Vitality, Falcons, and decided Falcons. So I should be the coach of Falcons.
What's mental is, from any other coach, that'd even be a reasonable take, but that's already, we already laugh immediately without even hearing the reasons. Go on, hit me with why, go on.
And I would win the first major that I would compete with.
There we go.
This lineup.
So you know what, Maui? I have to do that Shaq thing. I apologise. I was unfamiliar with your game. I thought the hot take was he should be the coach of Falcons. The hot take was he'll just win the major if he joins. All right, okay.
The first one with the same lineup. No changes, no.
Oh, same exact roster, and zero, all same roles, everything.
Roster, zero roster, just no Zonic, no Lars.
You do realise this is essentially the fuck Zonic take because you're not even changing a player or anything. You just hate. You low key. You're pretending it's you're going to do it. You just hating on Zonic. Go on, then, hear me. Why would you win a major with them?
No, the thing is, I was watching the last 1 month or maybe 3 weeks, whatever. Every game, every vlog, every team play, individual POVs from players. I was watching Falcons very hard, right? And especially when I watch their vlogs, the body language, the way they communicate.
How do you make it sound like you have a Falcons room in your house with a million monitors, with all POVs and overlays and weatherman segments, and he's watching it all like some fucking lunatic stalking the president or something? Where are you going to Mr. President?
Like the Zonic, with that knife in the fucking thing. No. The thing is, I've watched them throughout the. Let's take an example of the vlogs they're posting, the major Budapest. I'm sure you both watched.
Yeah.
Or if you didn't go watch, then you will understand what I'm saying. The way they communicate is so weird for me, and it's so unnatural. It's so forced and plastic, and you can see there is not that shred of confidence, trust, or any kind of structure or any kind of team vibe, identity, anything you want to call it, in that team. It's just 5 really good people at Counter-Strike. But it's not enough. It's, they don't have Michael Jordan, so they can don't have the crazy teamwork or, it's just like people being there and everything relies on if somebody's going to pop up, but we already discussed that. Now, I'm watching the vlog. The way they communicate to each other is fucking crazy. First of all, Zonic. You should do a drinking game where he starts the sentence with I.
Okay.
Every time he's like, I feel this. I know this. I think that. I this. I am so proud. He's like, I don't give a fuck. Just tell me what to do, man. And then he goes on and says,
so mad, isn't it? I know.
Listen, we need to be on the same page. I want us to be on the same page when we take map control.
Okay.
What the fuck does that even mean? How? You tell me, what am I doing wrong? Are we not using smokes properly? Are we poorly reacting to certain situations? Explain to me in examples. What am I doing wrong? How am I not on the same page? Am I too slow? Am I too fast? Is he too fast? Is he too slow? What's going on? Tell me. Not just after the game, you tell me I want to be on the same page.
By the way, what's the logic on this, though? Because are you implying that, by just saying that he's not, actually identifying the issue or who's to blame?
Not doing anything.
He's just being too vague.
Generic,
right.
Too vague, too generic,
right.
too,
okay.
What is the right word? There is no direction in what he's saying. No specific thing to what he's... And then I have Nico saying, listen, guys, I want us to win because I don't want us to play scared. And I don't want us to doubt each other, and I don't want to be afraid to lose or make moves. And then Kiyusuke asks, listen, can I pick mid? And he's asking, are you sure? Are you sure you want to pick mid? In the middle of the fucking game. It's what the fuck does that even mean? You tell him no, not this round. You can do it next round. I want to do this, or just go for it. There is no, are you sure? You really want to pick middle? Do you something you really want to do? What the fuck is that? Then they do the preparations. I've watched the games, when they do the preparations in the practice room. Zonic is saying the most ridiculous shit ever. I have Nico telling Bonasi, listen, I see this guy jumps here a lot. Maybe you can catch him with an op. That's a proper thing to say.
Okay.
That's a proper thing between the guy and an op. Maybe you can tell him that, listen, he's jumping like this, And then I have Zonic saying, listen, this is just my opinion. But I think these guys are weak here.
Okay.
And maybe if you find yourself in a late round not knowing what to do, you go here. What the fuck is that?
He's so triggered. I know, I love it.
What the fuck is that?
It's the idea when he's watching all these vlogs, he pulls out the dictaphone. Zonic's just fucked up again. He said I instead of telling him what to do.
Listen. He does that, and he does so many unspecific things that just goes into one ear and goes out on the other. It just makes no sense. That's their preparation for the game, which is fucking ridiculous in the tier 1.
Would you say he was a fraud?
But not a fraud.
No. I'm just asking because it does sound like you're saying he's not coaching, bro. By the way, here's what I don't get. If he is doing a bad job, maybe he's a fraud. Is he not?
I mean, fraud is one thing, but bad coach is another.
He's a bad coach, though.
Yeah, absolutely. For Falcons, absolutely.
Do you think? By the way, do you think he's gotten worse over the years, or do you think this only works with Astralis or something? Do you think if he did this method, do you think it used to work?
He's gone too soft on the players because he doesn't have the authority over them.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. Okay, right. Okay.
He's fucking soft because of that. And he's not... If you want to prepare for the game, you have your staff.
But here's another question. Do you think it's this might be too specific, but I'll just ask anyway. Do you think, for example, he's afraid to tell Nico what to do because Nico can get him fired or something? Do you think that's a factor?
Not afraid, but he's reserved because Nico might disagree with him and that can just make Nico think less of him.
Right.
That's the fucking problem. Listen, I am the coach. I take responsibility. I take the consequences if it fails. If I prepare...
Right, that's right. Actually, you've done all the Zonic stuff, but what would you do instead? What would you bring that would win this major?
I'll tell you.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to...
Yeah.
Or there is a scene where they're talking about, he wrote down something listen, Maxim this guy that, in front of everyone. That's something that I would do in 2016. That's not the way. You have your assistant coach. If I was there, you have my assistant coach. I have my whatever coach, performance psychologist, whatever. I conduct conversation with my player one-on-one in my office, in my room, in my fucking lobby, whatever the fuck I have, right? And I tell him, listen, I noticed that you are doing this and that, and I need more of this, less of that. You are playing like that, whatever, right? Doesn't have to be a Starbucks, doesn't have to be, but it has to be a one-on-one without the other players being involved. When I do the preparations, I want eyes fucking open. Not somebody wandering around the room. I don't want anybody fucking talking to each other when I'm talking. What are we going to do in these specific situations? Like I said, listen, if we have default and we took fucking whole middle together with Leather on Mirage, I want us against Furia to split B 90% of the times. Unless something crazy happens and somebody gets an opener, we split B. That means you don't stay in holes, you don't stay in ramp. As a lurker on A, you bide your timing before 50-second mark to be on the B holes or middle. That's the preparation for the game. And then you include the other like anti-strat and whatever you want to do. The fucking talking to the players after the game, like let your frustrations out in front of everyone, is stupid. Also, when I see Nico and like Twists and like all these players coming in with the Louis Vuitton bags, first player that would come to my practice room with a Louis Vuitton bag would get kicked outside for the practice day instantly.
What's the premise? Why like a obviously just mean luxury brand? What's the problem?
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. Did you see how Donk looks? He looks like a coat hanger wrapped up in a fucking mop. Just with the bag of clothes, and he goes there.
That's not bad, actually. That's not a bad description of Donk. I can't lie.
He goes and destroys everyone. Did you see Zyvu with the belly and the fucking tight shirt? He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't want to be fucking cool. He wants to kill people and win events. And nobody's saying, Zyvu is fat or like Donk is skinny. They just watch them play. They want them. And the worst part is Duncan and Maui is because that spills as a captain, Nico, with a Louis Vuitton bag and a nice haircut and a post on Instagram where he has a colored shirt and a whiskey and a Rolex $25,000 watch next to his fucking keyboard. That spills to other players like Boneshi and Kyosuke, which are kids.
Oh, you think it's a bad influence, right?
It's a terrible influence.
Right.
You show up in a fucking shit shirt of $10 shirt, play your mind off, and that's what they're gonna pick up from you. There is time to be cool. There is time for Instagram. There is time for nightclubs. Just fucking go there and win. That's what you're paid for. That's the whole point. And I will do it completely different. And I can promise you with 100% accuracy that would yield. Is that the word? Yield?
Yeah.
Bring?
Yeah, yield. Yeah.
More and better results, including the fucking first major that we play.
I mean, Nico's Chinese nickname is the King of Nightclubs.
It's pretty good, isn't it? It's fucking banging, man. It's actually fire.
Yeah. It is really funny. And there was even that video of Monesi and Kyosuke in the club or whatever doing whatever they were doing.
Did you see that?
Yeah. I mean, like, okay. Let me address your take. I mean, it's absurd, but it's hilarious. And but I also agree with it lightly. I'm not gonna say that I would replace Zonic with Kassad necessarily. But I mean, when push comes to shove and Falcons need to make a hard decision in the near future, I just think that Zonic has had enough time. Just simply put, I think it's there's been enough variables isolated for me that it just feels like this is a chemistry issue that's deeper than replacing yet another player when you have so much loaded talent on the roster. I mean, I know that some people are bringing up the whole Tessus angle as a possibility too, but I mean, that guy has always been so overqualified as an anchor, but now that he has to do the worst entry routes just to make space for everybody, now that he has to play all of the bad bomb site positions, and he's just an incredibly selfless player in general, for him to even keep his head above water statistically in any matches, let alone the fact that he sometimes actually pops off for them on particular maps. I mean, I think he's doing a good enough job there, and that's why I would actually be going into some of the more, I guess, the granular details, which I feel like for whatever reason, Zonic just seems to be having a hard time getting through to these guys, like how to play these late round man-up situations that are practically unlosable when you're looking at other tier 1 teams. I mean, they've already fired their mental side of the code. Yeah, Lars Robel, they've already moved away from him, and so I just feel like if you gave certain other coaches this kind of lineup by now, I just think they would have shown me more. That's just being honest. And I'm not gonna say Zonic's a fraud or anything like that. Like, obviously what he did in the past is fantastic, and you'll never be able to take that away from him. But for whatever reason, with this group of players and a practically blank check, he has not been able to put more than a single trophy in their cabinet, which is just, I mean, at this point it's become nearly inexcusable. So I think it's time to put up or shut up for this season, or he's out for me. So, but I'm not putting you in first ballot or anything like that.
And what do you know?
Right, by the way, on this topic, like the problem is, as usual, like all good hot takes, I agree with some of it, I don't agree with the other. Like, if you notice, this is why you know I'm a shit-hot fucking host and interviewer, because notice what I try to do is I can move past the outrageous statements and the things that seem mad and try to find out, like, what's he actually trying to say behind that? And then when I find it out, actually, usually it's an interesting point or it's a valid point. The problem is people just get lost in the Louis Vuitton thing or, like, what they're doing in a nightclub or something. They just get lost by, like, the imagery, as it were. So anyway, essentially, here's where I do agree with you. I agree with you in this sense that actually, I think what you've nailed here, I've never heard anyone else articulate it, is that a lot of the flaws within the team are based on Zonic, either one, his current method, but also the things he doesn't do. I actually think that's actually a better take. I've never heard anyone even make that point. Most people go the other way, Kassad. They just blame Zonic for the whole squad because they think this is his dream team setup and everything goes like exactly, he gets exactly the players he wants, he run the way he wants, and he has everything, a total say. I actually disagree. I actually think you've nailed it, mate. Essentially, the short version is this. I think every great team in the history of Counter-Strike was, in most of history, a project of the in-game leader, and he had all the authority and the power and decided how you practice, how you play, what the star does. Back in the day, there wasn't even big salaries. You could even just kick literally great players like Get Right if you wanted out your team. Like, people did shit like this. Then after that, I think you have the agile, and then I think in the modern day, the coach should also have a massive say in the project, and he should run it all top down. And I'll give you a quick example as to why. Here's essentially, I'll cheat and tell you the end part on why I don't agree with the part that you would win, though. Here's why. I actually think what you're getting at is a really extreme version of what I think is the sickness of modern coaching and team projects in general in sports, bro. So really, the problem is this. If you were allowed to implement the things you say, maybe you would win. I actually just don't think you ever would be able to, and they would never let you in the door and do the project. So here's why. Yeah. Because first of all, on this whole thing of like Zonic in Falcons, I do think if you look at their team, I know what you mean when you say about the way they talk. The whole culture of that team is fucked because actually, you know, I always compare the team in terms of spending to like Real Madrid. One thing I respect about Real Madrid though is winning is everything to them though. The reason why they spend is because they want to win the Champions League. They don't do it just to have awesome players. Here's what I think sucks about Falcons, and I think Zonic has to be responsible for part of this. I know what you mean. When you ever hear them talk in interviews or even in those behind the scenes videos, every person almost has it, like you could actually imagine there's a part of their brain going, don't get fired, don't get fired, don't get fired, don't get fired, get 50k a month, don't get fired, don't get fired. But everyone, Nico doing that. By the way, Nico also is someone where sadly because of his career history and baggage, he knows people are going to blame him if someone gets kicked out of the team or if Zonic gets fired. Zonic himself is thinking, fuck, I've had 2 years now, I didn't win anything. If someone like an Nico or Kiyosuke doesn't like me, or Monacy, God forbid they ever do a mutiny and go behind the scenes, I'd be out of here, wouldn't I? Like, they're not, again, a bit like with Real Madrid right now, mate. Who are they going to kick? One coach or all the star players? It's going to be me, the coach. So I know what you mean. Zonic in that sense held back, and I'll tell you the reason why I think this actually sucks, because I'll give you a few angles. One is the whole way they're talking, right, actually comes from people like sports psychologists. It's what they consider like this is like effective communication. And I'll just give a very brief rant. It's basically what I hate about corporate culture in America. It's sort of therapy talk. What you're supposed to do is you're never supposed to be like, hey, dickhead, like, what the fuck was that last call? Like, you're supposed to go, now, guys, I'm just going to bring my temperature down a bit. I was really upset with the way when you made your communication towards the end, you weren't direct in what I needed to do. And I felt unsecure. Like, here's what people don't realize about that sort of talk. It sounds like it's the magic bullet if only one person does it. If one person goes to therapy and learns all that and then the other one doesn't, the other guy's the bad guy. There's a problem, and I made this point on the Feed the Trolls when I was doing this one recently with TC about Simple, which is everyone wishes Simple talked like that. I can tell you right now, you definitely don't, because you do know if he just learned how to talk like that, he could literally neutralize every argument you could ever make against him. Because I'll give you an example. Say in the game, instead of Simple going, fucking hell, Crazy, why are you playing so passive? We're going to win the round. Imagine if instead he goes, Crazy, didn't we have a discussion earlier about the fact you would go off mic? By the way, at the end of that, you get to be equally as toxic and passive-aggressive, but you're not aggressive-aggressive, you're passive-aggressive. You make the same point, you just disguise it with this language. Yeah. You wouldn't have come and say, I don't even think they're doing that in this team. I think, as you say, this team is more like a bunch of people in a meeting feeling awkward, like, fuck, I don't want to be the one that says the wrong thing and gets fired or benched or kicked or it's my fault. And as a result, I agree, they don't ever get to the bottom of the problems, mate. In fact, even the way they're talking, I hate that idea of like, and let's play confident, let's not do that. I don't know if people know this. People like Bill Belichick used to actually practice for all the worst case scenarios and be like, here's what happens if we get in like a bad situation. Here's what happens if we're on the 1 yard line and they're going to like, who He wouldn't go just hope, guys, don't think negative thoughts. Just go into the game and we're going to score all the touchdowns. He didn't. He did the opposite of that. So I'll tell you why. Here's why, though, Kassad. I don't think, unfortunately, your system would work. 2 reasons. One, I'll give you my own little classic Kassad-esque spin-off hot take that's even hotter. I actually do think, but not because he's toxic like Simple, that Nico is the most uncoachable player in the history of Counter-Strike. I'll give you a very quick reason why. Because his 2 most successful periods ever, the first FaZe clan, when Robban famously just wasn't that sort of coach. He was just like your mate in the club and minding you. And then after that, it's what? Now when he has Zonic, like, no, sorry, I got that wrong. Then the other one, I got there. The other one was in G2, when he didn't have a coach, when he had a fucking demo analyst just stood in as the temporary coach. What was his name? What was it? Well, Swanee, there you go. When that guy, he wasn't even a coach. So the 2 best points of Nico's career, coaching-wise, are when people don't coach him. Then I'll give you an example. He's had, now, 2 of the all-time great coaches. He had Ekstaz in G2. No one even knows what he did, and he was out the door immediately, because the perception was he didn't implement his system, because he didn't know how to relate to Nico. Now he has Zonic, a guy who before this was the GOAT coach, and the unassailable, he had fucking 5 majors, guys. He was at the top of the mountain. No one was ever going to beat him. No one even thinks he's the GOAT coach anymore, partly because of this period of Nico. So, one, I do think Nico doesn't have a great track record. Like, for whatever reason, people don't coach him. And then here's the last reason, Kassad, why I don't think in your case they would let you do it, unfortunately, mate. Because, one, like I implied, I think if they didn't like what you did a month in, these players are brats, mate. I actually think this is why I said there's a bigger picture. I think this is what sports is now. I see this happen in the NBA, the NFL. In the modern day, the coach himself is scared to coach because they know the star player can get him fired. So, like, basically, I'll tell you the person who made me realise this in Counter-Strike was my old friend when he was my friend who didn't go mental before he became an android. Fucking Zeus from Team Liquid. If you don't know, the thing that Zeus totally admits he fucked up in his second time round in Team Liquid is that he didn't coach the team. That he did what he could, but there were literally times... He is, mate. He's more machine than human at this point in time, Kassad. Anyway, so that's the point. So the problem is, he even admits that in that team, he was worried about things like what will Cadian think, or what happens if Twists complains about me to Liquid, and that actually hampered him, and that was in the back of his head when he would be having these big meetings, and when he would be thinking, who should I blame, or whose side should I take? So my problem with that is, I actually agree generally, but I just think the problem is, in the modern day, I don't think anyone could coach these players, mate. Like, I don't think that sort of coach... Like, I actually think, I'll give you an example. I think the only reason Ekstaz even gets to coach those players is because, one, Ziwu was way more chill as a star player, and Apex is basically the one implementing it all. Like, if you didn't have Apex there, man, it was someone else. I don't even know if they listened to you in that case. So I do think it's a tricky situation. Anyway, any more thoughts?
Oh yeah, a lot. That is the communication part that got me. It's so funny. Like, you can see in their communication is like they're choosing words so carefully. Not to over-insult anyone or raise their voice.
No, I agree.
It's so pathetic, man.
Yeah.
It's so pathetic. Like, tell me. I would rather you yell and tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me what you want.
And by the way, as far as I know, I mean, the most famous example ever was the polls. But even in teams like Astralis, mate, I know behind the scenes they've had arguments and story and things where people blamed each other. And that's not when they were losing. That's like when they were winning too. Like, I think that actually is a real thing, because you have to be able to actually hold people accountable, don't you?
It's like talking to a child, like a 2-year-old child, and it's a grown-ass person that probably shit his pants. And instead of telling him, "Oh, you're fucking crazy, why did you shit your pants?" Like, why did you go to the toilet, you fucking idiot? And you're like, yeah, you haven't been discussed, but you need to go to the poo. Then you need to go to the toilet.
Someone clip that. Someone clip that immediately. I know. That's clipped already.
Kassad on his dad art.
By the way, that's going to be a GIF on Twitter. Don't worry, Maui. We'll all be using that one. We'll all be using that.
I mean, it's so pathetic. But yeah, probably you're right. I would never get like the be able to get the work like that. Simply even in Cloud9. The first time I saw the S attack was a dumbass snake piece of shit human, and he showed that, and nobody wanted to say. I yelled at him.
Yeah.
I yelled at him, and he called his agent and cried.
Oh, as if we had to wait, Bowie, 5 years to find out why Kassad stopped as a coach, and he'd been holding back that straight fire story for half a decade. Why? It's fucking S attack's not even some like Illuminati power figure like Nico. He couldn't even get you fired.
He's a piece of shit. That's what he is. But the thing is, he called his agent and cried to him. It's like he's talking too loud in my ear. Like, fuck you. Anyway, who's that?
Okay.
I thought it was something about like Woxic not learning nade.
There was a bit of that too. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Voxic is the best guy.
Whatever. Well, we'll leave that to one to the side anyway. Anyway.
I mean, at least he was back then.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought there was another.
Do you want to do a fan take now, boys? Because listen.
Sure, before yours? Yeah.
The fans, I've got a good one, but the fans always deliver with, at this point, the problem is I've encouraged them all to pretend they're like us on the show, but instead takes a sore ass. So listen to this one. This is a mad one, actually. Right. By the way, if you want to submit a fan take, subscribe to the Last Nation Discord. There's a channel there, CS hot takes. You can submit them, etc. So someone called... There a second. I can't see what their alias was, but they'll know the take anyway. The take, it's a long one, so listen. It goes, Chopper should quit esport entirely. The worst in-game leader. When looking at top teams, he is the worst in-game leader, including Major, Fallen, or anyone else you want to flame. The mental game I had to do was, would X outfrag Chopper, followed up by, would X outsmart Chopper? I had to use this logic, and I was able to reach 25th on the Valve rankings. He thinks 24 teams have an IGL who either would outfrag or outthink Chopper. Terrible fragging. When looking at IGL's fragging is normally not important. The role he plays on his team, it's important though, because if Donk is an entry, the players who follow up are going to have to get better stats because how good Donk is. Then he has another, these are all sections, terrible branding / no aura. He wears pink gaming setup. When we see him on camera, he looks like an overgrown man-child. He doesn't really inspire people or have good analyst skills. And then he just puts, the last question I want to ask, what role can he fill in at a CS event? He is not a good IGL, rifler, analyst, commentator, caster, photographer, co-streamer, coach, position coach, mental health expert, journalist, production, alt head, or part goer. That's it. What? So the main take is that he has to retire from all of esport. He can't do a single role, apparently.
No. Okay. First off, I mean, I was interested because Chopper was co-streaming Krakow. I was looking at his numbers. They're obscene. They're legitimately obscene. Like Chopper for the last few months is a top 50 streamer on all of Twitch.
Holy shit! Okay.
It's crazy. Wild. Okay, for the last, I mean, I'll just give you the numbers. For the last 30 days, he's averaging 19,000 viewers.
Fucking
19,000. Okay, this guy is, I mean, like on average, this dude's making like over $200 an hour just by turning on his camera. That's before subs. That's before any of that stuff. I mean, I looked at his numbers also. At the end of his stream, sometimes he puts on Elden Ring. He still gets like 1,000+ viewers for playing Elden Ring. Like, no, this dude is clearly likable in Russian. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's saying. I haven't really seen the clips or anything like that. But numbers alone, like this guy literally could just be a streamer for the rest of his life, and he's probably going to be just fine.
I mean, Russians are special people. We all know that. Like, they have their own way of...
Why do you phrase it like that?
Because, like, you remember, like, the before YouTube time, like, and the first time YouTube showed up, and like you can see the clips. It was always like some crazy clips from Russia. It was never from America. Or
but it's true. There was a lot of. I will confirm there were a lot of really great traffic clips put that way. If anyone remembers the early internet, there was some bangers. There was some good compilation videos. I can't lie.
Special people, and you know, there's what? How many millions of them?
Hundreds of millions in there.
Yeah, and then you know. And they have a big community for esports, like across all games. And if you're a part of the team that's a championship team, especially after Spirit won international in Dota and like they became famous and like you know how the VK or whatever the thing works with them.
Yeah,
and it's
that
like,
version of Facebook basically.
Yes. So it's how does that? What's the name? Is it like V Contact or something?
Yeah,
something like that, right? So it's there is a lot of a big community there, so I'm not surprised he has numbers, but I'm 19K. I wouldn't even. Yeah. I would say maybe 2, 3, 4, because he's not a very, energetic person or any kind of superstar aimer that people would just follow and do stuff that he does or be excited. Like for example, when you see Shroud is boring as fuck. One of the most boring people on the fucking planet. I want to kill myself when I listen to him. But when he plays, it's a completely different story. The guy is super sharp, talented for every game. He plays PUBG. He goes like, I remember in 2018-17, he goes PUBG. It's like, I'm going to win a game with a fucking pistol. And he goes and we get 37 kills or something like. It's fucking mental. That's what I want to watch. That's why he had so many, viewers. Maybe, when it comes to Chopper, he has nothing like that. He's just a fucking dude with the pink fucking setup that try to be cool. Like, these fucking old people that are trying to do cool things to be cool.
Do you think him having a pink setup's like his midlife crisis? Like, this is him getting like a fender on his car or something?
It's just him trying to kind of be special in a way. Like,
that word.
Like, pink setup doesn't make you special, just makes you an idiot.
I like the way he's figured out if you just use the word special instead of any like slurs or insults.
Yeah, I know.
It's like a great euphemism in it. I know he's learned his own Falcon speak at this point.
Extremely politically correct.
Exactly.
Term.
I'm just following the rules,
Okay, true.
On my own channel, I would say something different.
Yeah, of course.
Different. But like saying that he needs to quit esports, I don't think so. I mean, he obviously has experience in, winning things.
Yes.
Even though he was removed at the end. The guy won a major. Like, how many people can say that? Not many. The guy won events. The guy had, brought up the team, that spirit from the academy, obviously with the help of organization and Holly and that guy from academy team and everything. He was a part of that. So for me, I don't even know the guy. He doesn't seem like a bad person. Even if he's giving interviews, I watched that blogs that they do on the spirit when they speak on Russian, but there's a translation and shit. He doesn't seem very confrontational, which makes him like easy to talk to, I guess, or easier to talk to. So I wouldn't remove him from esports. Maybe this guy has a grudge on him because he lost something, or he's mad at him because Spirit lost something, or I don't know. But I would definitely not remove him. I would keep him. I know that like a lot of, for example, the talent production, the Russian guys have always been hiring, former pros like Hoocher.
For sure,
and and stuff, people like that. And then maybe, but like Maui said, like if this is true what Maui says and those numbers are real, I mean he's fine.
Yes. No, here's the thing. This take is actually ass. I think it's even ass, by the way. He's made it exciting like hot ticks. He made it, he had to quit all of esports. He's terrible at every role. Like, by the way, I'll quickly address that. As Maui's pointed out, one, already he's killing it with core streaming. And then secondly, actually, as Kassad pointed out, if people don't know, actually, when it used to, I know we're not allowed to say this anymore, but when we used to call it the CIS region and the broadcast was in Russian, but it was Ukrainians and Russians, often from Kiev. Actually, if you don't know, that is probably the #1 broadcast in any region that has the most former pros. Like, almost every single person on that broadcast was a former pro, by the way. People like, it looks like it's written Zawok, but it's actually Chaos, basically. He used to be playing with Blade back in the day. Strike used to play with Blade back in the day. All those people did. They were all, fucking Senya, all the people on that broadcast pretty much were either coaches or players in the Ukrainian or the Russian scene, Hooch, etc. All those guys. So, first of all, like, that's just nonsense, because in his scene, you actually would have it. And then also, if you were even hiring someone now, let's give you an example. Let's say there was a Russian broadcast for the Major. I don't know if this shit even goes on right now with the whole war situation, but let's say there was a Russian broadcast. I'll tell you why Chopper would be an instant pundit hire forever, because he actually IGL donk. That alone is like a mega angle you can use all day long on a fucking broadcast. Like that would be an endless like font of information, and like, well, here's what he was thinking before the big games, and here's what he thought for the, like, that alone's a million stories, mate. So already that's an ass take. Then secondly, I don't even agree. You've overhated on him even as an IGL. My problem with him as an IGL is he has a player that I think could win every single tournament right now, and he wasn't doing a good enough job. Beyond that, like, fuck this, the idea you can go 25 names deep and they're either all out fragging or out thinking him. I think you've taken the fragging part and made that that's your crutch there. There's no universe where there's like 20 IGLs that are like way better than Chop. You know what? In fact, that's even the sad thing. I think right now the reason Chopper's not doing anything, I've already told you my conspiracy theory, is that they're letting him like Zontics and Magic sit on the bench, and if it doesn't go well with the whole Magic's IGL, they just bring him back in like 3 months or after the Major or something. So first of all, I already think it's possible he might play for Spirit again. And by the way, maybe that'll even work. Maybe Zontics instead of Sway is the move. Then secondly, I'll just throw this out there. Am I the only one who actually low-key, if he doesn't play for Spirit, would like to see him IGL again? I'd like to see him have a bet boom type team, or one of these like squads where it's like a bunch of talented players, but they don't have like, there's not a lot of really good IGLs in the Russian scene. Like, I'd like to see him go and do a Jim, basically get a bunch of young skilled players and see if we get, like, I don't think he'd be as good as Jim, but I tell you what, he could probably be like a top 15 team. Like, you think if he had some players like in foot or something, he'd do nothing with them, he'd probably be half decent. Like, I think you've overhated him on this one, guys. I mean, I certainly don't think he was one of the best IGLs, but I think this is like the idea he has to quit esports. Come on, why? Come on.
No,
Goodbye.
I feel like the an aside here is that the Chopper hate as an IGL got weirdly overblown for me. I mean, I get people saw a handful of bad mid rounds and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't winning it as much as people wanted when they have Donk on the team, and so it's obviously going to lead to frustration. I mean, it led to even the French scene calling out all these French legends when they were playing alongside ZywOo. They saw the potential that he should be winning tournaments, and so then everybody else becomes an enemy to ZywOo's winningness. And but I think it needs a reminder that, I mean, Chopper was a fairly accomplished IGL prior to getting Donk. Like, I think the run that he had at Antwerp goes pretty underrated throughout time, where it's a top 4 finish, pushing, in some of those maps, they were both extremely close in the semifinals, where FaZe wins the overall major, and they were in the semifinals. And if you look at the roster that Chopper was working with back then, dude, are you? I mean, like, it was Dexter was practically your star. Magix was one of your best pieces also. Then you had Patsy and Siren. Like, those guys have fallen to practically irrelevancy after they stopped working with Chopper. I'm not saying like Chopper's a miracle worker in himself, but he clearly has a positive effect on his rosters. It got so out of hand. And I think that almost in a way, I think that Holly and Spirit probably know that here, that this is a trial for Magix, that this might not actually last for longer than 6 months.
Yeah.
Let's get the Thorin's take.
Yeah, okay, here's my take. Right, bearing in mind right now, people are all mad. We talked about on Snake and Banter about the fact that you're going to have this I Am Atlanta event where, if people don't know, before then, Vitality can win the Grand Slam if they win this Rio event. Obviously, they chose not to go to Pro League, so they can't win that one. But the point is, even if they don't, because I Am Atlanta, the second best team's like Na'Vi, everyone thinks they're going to win the Grand Slam no matter what, because even if they haven't won it by then, that'll almost be the easiest event to pick up the win. Remember, still be all 5 final. Here's my hot take. Because it looks like they're almost certainly going to win another Grand Slam, I'll go one further. They're going to win a third Grand Slam. Like, first of all, the Cologne Major is a Cologne and it's a major. Then there's all the events the rest of this year. Secondly, they are, like MOUZ, a lock to make every top 4. In fact, they're even more of a lock, aren't they? Because the joke is if MOUZ played fucking Vitality in a round of 6, they'll probably lose. So they're a lock to make every bloody top 4. So they're going to have a million chances. They've also got ZywOo, who, by the way, is one of the most consistent superstar players ever. Like, the joke is, the reason I can bring up every time he failed is, half of them were in bloody finals and semi-finals, and it was like the odd map. It was very rarely actually the whole final. So, like, if you just look at all the factors, normally, the reason why this is a hot take, because I'm sure a fan right now, because they're winning, will go, well, obviously, Thorin. No, there's no. By the way, normally, when someone hasn't even completed a Grand Slam, you can't say they'll do it. Like, you can never know. In CS, anything can happen in a week, in a month, and by the way, you can even have mad shit, like someone just goes, like their mind goes in the game, or they become a dickhead, and they become arrogant, or. But I think this is the only team ever where I can say it. Not only will they complete this Grand Slam, but right now, I don't see a reason they don't just win another one, boys. Like, think of how many big ESL events there are. Like, they're just going to mop them up. Even if they lose 1 or 2, they're going to win the next 2 or 3. No one's going to stop. They're going to win 3 Grand Slams with this exact roster, the boys. There's a hot take. 3 Grand Slams.
Ooh. That is an interesting one. While you're talking, I was looking at the calendar.
They could do it this year, bro. Literally.
And the calendar doesn't help you. That's the thing.
Go on then.
The thing that I was looking at, like, so Atlanta is the one that they're playing, right?
They're also playing Rio as well.
They're playing Rio. When is Rio?
That's before.
Rio is before Atlanta. So they can win it at Rio.
I think so, yes.
Which is most likely going to happen in April.
Yep.
And then we have Atlanta, which is, again, they're being favorites. Then we have Cologne. That's the second one. After that, we have IM China. And that ends the year, right?
Pro League as well? Pro League 24?
If they play it.
Yeah.
Right? So that also kind of conditions them to be at the same form throughout the whole year, to be in a decent spot.
That's why it's a hot take.
Which is, yeah.
But essentially, my hot take is I've just given them 5 tournament wins that they haven't got yet, kassad. Like, it's a pretty big hot take, you know.
The thing is, like, it is a hot take, but I don't think it's going to happen. Simply because at some point they will fall off. Not because somebody will get stronger. I think they will just fall off individually.
No, by the way, I totally agree with you. History says they will. Like, that's why no one ever does win this many Grand Slams. But the problem is, I'm essentially saying, a bit like a donk angle, they're going to be the only team in history that floats it. It's impossible what they can do, Britt. They can do it.
If that happens, there will be no team that can be even discussed as the best team in Counter-Strike.
Oh, I think it'll be cracked.
The iterations of the game back in 1990.
Think about this, then they'll have like Apex and Zero will have 4 majors. I mean, he already has 4, but it's an IGL. I mean, as an IGL,
Yeah.
They'll have 3 Grand Slams. They'll have everything, mate. They'll be the greatest team of all time.
It would be unmatchable, like in any kind of...
Yeah, probably.
They would be the best of all time.
Yeah.
But sadly, the reality is going to hit them, and the form will drop. Maybe somebody will get a little bit stronger. Maybe one of these finals or the semi-finals, quarterfinals, not one, just multiple, will not go their way. Even though right now they're looking, again, terrifying. Like, if you see the last event, the Krakow they won, they lost the bet against Furia in the finals, and they should have won that match.
They should have won the Mirage one.
9-3,
Yes.
10-4, whatever it was. Yeah.
Yep.
And then they demolished them on every other map. It was like kind of close on overpass, but not really. They were in
they had a big lead as well.
Position.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was no weaknesses. That's why I said it, even in my tweet, that there is no team that can beat them in best of 5. Right.
Oh, by the way, Kassad, here's why I am a very fair person. Oh, part of me doesn't want them to win all those tournaments, Kassad. Do you know how unbearable Zemu stands are going to be if he has that resume? They're going to be like, and if you even deny it, you suck simple dick or something. It's like, you won't ever be able to argue with these fuckers, even though I still won't think he's the GOAT. Like, look, it's going to get bad, and it's going to... But it's a spoiler, I am someone who had to live through this. Me and Monty, back in the day, we all thought Peyton Manning was the GOAT quarterback. That was when Tom Brady only had 3 rings. And guess what? It got really bad when he got 7 rings, Kassad. That's when it started to get fucking awkward. Like, oh, bloody hell, why are you doing this to me? I just made my arguments in the bar 10 times harder, you wanker. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad.
Yep. Yeah, but there is a counter argument to that, which will save for the next episode.
Okay.
I'm not going to use another.
as if he's teasing future hot takes. Like, I know, like that one's not ready, guys. That one's still in the oven. That'll be ready in 20 minutes. I know.
That ties up to the argument you just made about Zaimu, but I'm not going to go any deeper than that.
Okay. Right. Tune into the next episode to find out his hot take about Zaimu. Okay. Do you have one now, Maui?
I just response.
Oh yeah, sorry, go on.
Pretty much that. It's just that, I look at the rest of the field right now, and I just feel like it's not that I think any of these teams are really bad that are in the top 5, but they just clearly have something missing. I think that, Falcons are probably the team that's probably closest to them in a lot of ways, even though they haven't lifted the trophies. That might seem a little crazy. I mean, it's kind of like Furia Falcons for 1A, 1B, whereas MOUZ just feel like there is a clear deficit. There's just something that's missing with them right now when it comes to these kinds of matches. Obviously, I feel like in a lot of ways, I'd want Spirit to be the team that's most closely contesting them because, I mean, how cool would that be? Just donk v Zaimu over and over and over again. I mean, I think that's something that maybe we've been missing a little bit is a good head-to-head in that regard. But no, it's just that for Furia, I think there's maybe a chance, in fact, because they are so strong as a unit, as a team at times. But if it's just kind of so I don't know, it's just unfortunate for the scene that Falcons feels this close, but really they are very similar to MOUZ in the ways that they can just collapse in the bigger moments.
By the way, the obvious thing that can fuck my take for both Spirit and Falcons is they make a roster move and then they just get awesome. Like, I can't predict that, obviously. But the Falcons make a signing would obviously be a big one that could beat me, Could happen.
I think the best chance for somebody that's going to really put an end to Vitality's era is probably a Falcons that makes some kind of change. Maybe moves around their pieces. I mean, I think the best realistic chance is something like if you get a Falcons that decides Nico is going to be the IGL, and then they make a couple different moves. Like, I mean, I feel like the world would end tomorrow if Falcons just got donk. If they actually got donk, and then it would actually just change.
Which isn't impossible. It's implied it could happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Spirit seemed like they're actually worried about donk leaving because, donk.
Why do you say that?
I mean, they're making all of these pretty rash decisions to try to appease him. I mean, bringing a rookie IGL just because he kind of likes Magix more as a person over Chopper just seems like they're just throwing whatever at the wall and seeing if it sticks. I'm not really convinced that Holly went into that and said with certainty this is an upgrade for us. That to me that would be that'd be shocking because obviously it hasn't been an upgrade from day one or even the Krakow or anything like that.
Right. We do have another prediction this time from Polymarket, which is the new 100 Thieves roster, the one that has Glaive and as the coach and Rain as the IGL and Devices there and those young guys. The poly market says, will 100 Thieves qualify to an S-tier tournament by the 1st of June? And at the moment, that's only an 11% chance. So actually, according to the traders on poly market, only an 11% chance because obviously they're going to start playing smaller tournaments and they're doing some online qualifying. But thus far, they've lost initially and they're opening out or whatever and they look dodgy. So at the moment, everyone thinks they won't. Like they won't even basically in the first season make it to a big tournament. What do you think, gentlemen? Would you go the other way?
They lost to MOUZ NXT in that qualifier, the open one, right? And that was like whatever. I mean, those old qualifiers are crazy hard to go through, and most of these players, some of these players at least, didn't used to be playing those, but some did. So in the end, it would balance out. But like 11% chance, they won't make it. Is that
they will make it?
Are saying? They will make it only 11%.
Yes.
I would take a position against it. Because we have seen crazier things happen, right? Crazier, weaker teams making it to the, S-tier events throughout these small events, right? The LANs and stuff. They're playing their next LAN in about, 3 days now?
Something like that,
and they're facing NIP, I think, in the first round on LAN.
Yes.
Why not? Why couldn't they win? Like, why couldn't they get some points off there? Maybe win an event here, maybe get a deep into the round, and somehow, by the skin of their teeth, like, maybe scrap a position to get to the stage 1 of the S tier. What is S tier? IEM and Blast and
PGL even.
Is it PGL?
Oh, it's the big event special,
yeah.
So why not? Well, how many worse teams have we seen? Like June 1st is the tricky part, right? Is it what's that? Like March? We have a little bit of February, March, and April and May. 3.5 months basically. I think it's doable. I think that's a position that I would take.
Okay, you would go the other way. You would go, yes, they will make it.
Okay. I would go to yes.
Okay. But obviously, that would be a really good return. What would you say, Maui?
It's tough. I mean, the team that I would liken it to the most would be NIP of 2025, where they had to battle from absolutely no VRS standing whatsoever. But if you actually look at their trajectory, similar to 100 Thieves, they did. They did qualify for an S-tier LAN in the first 6 months. I mean, they qualified for Astana by April. By April 1st, they actually had qualified to Astana, and that was through playing. I mean, they played so many qualifiers at the time. They were playing CCT qualifiers. They were playing RES Showdown qualifiers. They played the IEM Dallas qualifier, which they got completely. I mean, they went 33rd to 64th in that one, and then suddenly they just kind of found an in. They got to the PGL Astana qualifier. They actually made it through the Bucharest Open qualifier. Then they were playing the closed one for Bucharest. They didn't make it, and then they went through. Remember, they went through 4 open qualifiers for the PGL Astana Open qualifier system, and then they finally made it through the closed qualifier to get the only spot of 32 teams in a closed qualifier. I'm gonna say I think that the market's in a good position where 11% chance seems about right, because even if Snappy had to run that one back with NIP, the likelihood that they make it by June in a similar time frame just seems really low. I mean, but reminder, that's the only S-tier LAN that team played for the first 7 months of its inception, or even qualified to. So it's not like there's any. If they just missed that single one, like out of 32 teams, they wouldn't have done it. So, and they even fought through the lower bracket. I mean, they were in the lower bracket for the tail end of that one. And I kind of think that NIP team is probably better constructed than this 100 Thieves one. So I think the market's in a good position. You think it's better? What do you think? What do you think? All right, honestly,
pretty much the same.
But I think I could trust Snappy with a younger team that of upstarts coming together than Rain.
Yeah, definitely because he has experience with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm go on.
I was just going to mention one more team. Parivision. Parivision a year ago didn't have a VRS ranking. And over time they managed to get to where they are. Right now you can see them. They probably secured all the events at the end of the season. It's not 3 months period, but they did it. I see, no specific reason why would you, think that they won't be making it.
I'll give you one.
Right.
So first of all, I agree with Maui. I actually think NIP had better pieces. I have no idea how Rain's going to do as a fucking IGL. Like, I don't know how Device is going to play when he's playing at shitter lands with all terrible conditions and no catering and no... And I'll give you another reason why as well. Unlike NIP and Paravision, those teams were insanely active. They played every bloody online tournament they could in CCT. This team expressly says we don't play online tournaments. We'll play like silly qualifiers for lands and we'll play small lands. Like, here's my prediction. Here's my hot take. The reason I think this 100 Thieves 5-man lineup will fail isn't even the player quality. I'm alarmed by some of the role swaps, but the thing that I'm most alarmed by is you're just playing scrims. You can't know from scrims what actually is reality. Like, there are a million teams have had awesome runs in scrims, and in the tournament they get their shit pushed in. Like, you have to have the harsh reality, even though online CS sucks, of getting beaten around by a random Russian mix. Like, that teaches you fuck, maybe this isn't as good as I thought it was, or it worked in one scrim against Mongols, but it doesn't work in this LAN here. So I actually think it might be trickier than people think. And the reason I also say that is people will forget at the end of last year, because it was already smaller teams like Liquid and Fnatic were trying to qualify. If you ever saw those lands they went to, the Draculans and the Birch Cops, bro, they used to lose to complete nobodies, teams that aren't even real teams. There was one, I think it was a Draculan, where FlyQuest, who aren't even terrible by the way, lost to a team called Basement Boys, which is a fucking mixed team or something a LAN best of 3 by the way. So I also think 100 Thieves by the way are going to go to these tiny lands that Messi Oso's calculated on his Jame vision that'll get you into the tournament, and he doesn't realise, mate, if you actually haven't played real officials, some randy ass mix there that has some play you haven't, or some play that used to be good 5 years ago. The joke is that team, what is it, Monty, that fucking team that BMAS plays right now would probably dust 100 Thieves off if they played them on land, mate. But these are the teams you're going to have to beat to actually get the points, I think. So I'm actually sort of with the market. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm against it. And your point, Kassad, was more will they eventually make it? Not will they make it by June 1st?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, listen. Yes, the multiplier is going to be crazy. Because if you don't know on this, by the way, first of all, guys, Polymarket is actually paid to pay. You're basically trading against other traders. You're not going against the house in this sense. Yeah. But then also, in this case, because you would buy in at 12 cents here, if it happens, then that gets converted to $1. So your actual value will be crazy from this. Yeah, okay. Right.
That's what I'm saying, just because of the value.
Yeah. Is there one last take for the show then? Does someone have one last take for us?
I'll save mine for the next one.
All right, I'll tell you what, we'll do a fan take then. This will just be the last take of the show. It's a fan take. You know what? Fair play. Some people, Kassad, much like MOUZ, even when they've taken an ass whooping and they've been shown by reality they're wrong, they get up, dust themselves off and go, you know what, beat my ass again. And you do. So he's back. You remember the guy with that amazing Elige take? He was called Victius Reacts. You know what, Kassad? He hasn't taken it lying. He's back with another take. And listen to this fucking take, why don't you? So his take, just listen, I'm going to read this out. He says, ropz is the GOAT of Counter-Strike. ropz was able to overperform in lesser roles and output similar numbers to Nico for almost as long as him, but he is also the most stacked trophy cabinet out of almost anyone while being the main reason why. ropz has been able to perform consistently at the top of his role across more lineups. Ziwu has only had Vitality, Alex and Apex. Simple has had his Liquid stint and Zeus and Boomich. Donk has only had Chopper. ropz has performed with Chris J. IGL, who no one believes is Einstein. He did that while being the main star, winning 4 trophies, including a prestige event in ESL New York, with a ragtag group of outcasts. He then, under MOUZ Carrigan, as the star player, as the main star, won 4 events, despite being in CT anchor positions. When Dexter becomes IGL, he is still able to win a trophy with a 1.30 rating. He then joins FaZe and creates an era, winning every prestige trophy as the main star, a feat no other team has done, and the only team who might again will be the future greatest team of all time, which he is also a part of, Vitality. He will be the first person to get 3 Intel Grand Slams, and it is not a coincidence. You can't trip over and be this successful. Every team he joins, he instantly makes better more than any other player in history. Nico couldn't carry MOUZ spots to trophies. ropz joins as a sperm and is able to lift trophies. Joins FaZe and instantly creates an era. Joins Vitality and goes on the greatest run in history. No other player comes close in championship quality than ropz. He has carried the greatest teams of all time while performing from despicable anchor positions. If that doesn't make you the GOAT, What does? Tell you what, I'll give this guy one thing. At least he phrased it in like an entertaining way there. Go on then, Boys, what do you think of this thing? Go on.
Listen. I'll tell you something honestly right now. I'll tell you something honestly. My hot take that I was saving was that ropz is the only one that can stand next to ZywOo in the GOAT conversation. I was going to say that.
What about
in
simple?
The next episode?
I know.
Not simple, no. In the GOAT conversation is ropz. Simply because of all these things that he just mentioned, right? Like the things that he won multiple trophies with three different teams, tier 1 trophies, tier S trophies, under different IGLs, under different styles of game. He single-handedly reinvented or invented the anchor position, like or upgraded it to the next level. Maybe
Are you actually agreeing with this guy right now, by the way? Is that where you're heading towards?
Yes, but not entirely.
Okay.
Not entirely, obviously. I mean, some of the arguments that he's saying are completely 100% spot on. Because I was thinking about this. I was looking at his trophy cabinet. He was winning with 3 different. He's going to win 3, and if you are right, 4 Grand Slams. Who can do that? Like, how many majors he won by right now 3, right? 1 with FaZe, 2 with Vitality. So most likely 4 or 5 or even more, God knows. And every team that he joined became instantly better. Starting from MOUZ to FaZe into the Vitality, right? Vitality was top team, struggling to have like a consistency. He joins, they become the best. MOUZ was struggling, being a good team with Nico. He goes to MOUZ, they become better. He goes to FaZe, they become better. Like, everywhere he showed up, he did it with... Also, he didn't do it with talent. You know, like Messi in football. Like, he did it with hard work plus talent. Like, he's like Ronaldo, in that sense. He's a nerd, right? Who measures the fucking height of the table with the fucking thing. He's the first one who did it. What he did in his role is fucking unbelievable. Everybody was watching ropz. Everybody was copying ropz. Everybody still copies ropz in most things that he does. He is the one that is setting trends. That's why, like, with all these, obviously, titles and across 3 different teams, several styles of play, and, different IGLs and different organizations, different eras, dramas of Counter-Strike, and everything else that he has been consistent. And not just consistent, but, like, very, very successful while winning trophies. Why is that? Like, that's better than Device for me. That's better than Dupree for me. That's way better than Nico for me. The only one who can match to that is, ZywOo right now. Who else? So this guy, like, I don't know what his actual point was, but to reply to him is like, he can only stand with... There is only one who can stand with ZywOo right now, and it's ropz, and it's in his team. So, yeah. I kind of agree, let's say.
I mean, I think ropz has it's a fun discussion point, but I don't think he's really close. I don't really think he's really that. I mean, I think that what ropz has done is he's the GOAT of his position, and that's kind of where I would put him in this kind of discussion. I mean, in the time that FaZe was winning, I mean, he won a couple of the MVPs, but the most notable being, ones that he didn't win, of course, were Katowice. Brokey won that. Rain won the Antwerp Major one. And ropz won a bunch of them that were kind of... They're good tournaments, obviously, to win. But, he won CAC, he won Thunder Pick, he won a few, and then 3 EPLs. Those were his MVP medals, as given by HLTV. You can have your... you can differ on opinion, but the lack of just kind of being the guy... And I think that FaZe is a really interesting team when talking about his legacy, because he might have actually been the guy on that team, but... It's kind of hard to just give him that because nobody was really taking it by force on FaZe. It was definitely a team effort, and that's actually why more often than not, I feel like in that time when FaZe was extremely successful in 22 and 23, we give a lot of credit to Kerrigan because he was the guy that was orchestrating everything going on there and helping to bring some of those guys up. Because I mean, maybe it was a confluence of multiple events, and ropz was also even a part of that. But just the kind of lack of... Maybe there was only a 5-month window at max at the very beginning of CS2 where there was even a conversation about ropz being the best player in the world. And so it wasn't even really a whole year of us ever having him actually near there. And I think that's kind of a big... I mean, it's really, really difficult for me to take seriously a GOAT conversation candidate when at no point in time did I really ever think for a whole year they were the best player in the world.
Yeah, by the way, I'm with Maui. Like, the main problem here is this. The only respect in which he can be a GOAT contender like Kassad Singh is just if you only look at the resume and then look and add no context whatsoever. If you just put all the trophies and all the thing, then great. And even then, by the way, shall I tell you an obvious reason why he wouldn't be the GOAT? If we're doing resumes, well, where's all his HLTV #1 player of the year? Like, how could you be the greatest player of all time, but never for 1 second ever were you actually the best player of the game? That doesn't work for me. Like, it can't only be trophies. It's why, actually, like the example given, we don't say Dupree having 5 majors makes him in the GOAT conversation. No one does. Even though, by the way, I think actually Dupree's a pretty good analogy for ropz, because you do know there was some majors that Astralis won. Dupree never won in a major MVP, if people don't know. But 2 of them, he has the numbers where he could have been. It just instead they went with Morgster and Vice at those 2. Like, I actually think if everyone thinks, right, I'll give you 2 teams that in history I think make the ropz point for me. It is Astralis' prime, and then the Team Liquid Grand Slam team. Notice how in these teams, Device won an amazing resume, but no one goes either GOAT because they go, yeah, but in your team it was quite balanced and you had excellent players. In Team Liquid, right? The reason why it's not a slam dunk that like Elijah's some GOAT fucking player is, no one thinks he did it all in Liquid. Everyone thinks actually you had an excellent team, mate. It was like a trio of superstar riflers. The balance was interesting. You did your job on these maps. They did, you know, it's more like you were like the best, but slightly. You were like a 1A, 1B type, or you were first and the other guy was close to second. So first of all, I don't think as a player, he actually has the level of play of like same player. Also, I'll just say this. This guy has completely rewritten ropz' history there. Notice what he's done. And this is, I actually thought this guy was rage bait with the Elige one, but by the way, he did a follow-up YouTube play. He's not. These are all real opinions he actually believes, as you can see. Here's why it's rage bait. I don't believe you watched ropz play back in MOUZ Sports. Fuck you using shit you didn't watch. Here's why I'm going to tell you didn't watch it. You pretended like ropz was identically good in all of his teams. Right? You remember the MOUZ he just listed there, the one that won those tournaments with snacks? That was the team where Oscar was the best player. Then fucking Sonny was a stud. ropz was a baby in that team. Like, he was, if you were listing the stars, he wouldn't have been #1. He just wouldn't. I mean, by the way, as shown on things like HLTV rating, he wasn't. So he wasn't in that one. Then you're right, when Carrigan came, he became really good. I think that was the first time he became like a super elite player. That was for a few months. There was no fucking majors involved in it either. Like, that was before they made the swap to put him on the anchor position, like you say, from the anchor position to the connector on Mirage. Then when he goes to the other teams, are we going to pretend in FaZe, right? Spoiler, mate, where's all the MVPs, you dumb fuck? Where's his MVP? Brokey won the MVP of that major. Where are all the ropz MVPs, by the way? You do know, remember when they won Cologne, one of these prestige events you're talking about? Simple won the MVP, you lunatic! He lost the final, he won the MVP. Where's your boy ropz with all the MVP? By the way, like Maui said, I think ropz should have a major MVP. This last one in Vitality, I would give him that one. Even then, by definition, like Ziwu, he would have had the most help ever of any other star player at a major. Like, he had a guy sat next to him who had a bonkers rating. So what I hate about this is quite simple. I gave the example before with Dupree. Don't most people in Astralis say the only one who gets to be a GOAT candidate is Device because we're picking him as the best of the bunch and he gets to count most of it. So what we're sort of saying to Dupree is, I'm sorry, mate, but as to use the bus driver terminology, you weren't the bus driver or you were like co-bus driver or something. You don't really get... So first of all, there's that angle, right, which is like, realistically, he doesn't get to count all the same trophies as Ziwu. They count for Ziwu, which is it. Like, how can 3 people get all the same trophies? Meanwhile, I'll say one last thing. This is why people like this use resume and downplay people like Simple. I'll tell you some of the shit Simple did, homie, that someone like ropz has never done. Could you imagine going to another country where you barely speak the language and fucking rocking up and almost making one major final against a team that has an era, and then at the next tournament making the final over all the best teams in the world? Those Liquid lineups were scoffed as fuck. They weren't even real lineups. They were using literal stand-ins at all the tournaments. That's insane. Then how about this? Remember the Katowice, that Simple one right before we went online, the one where the playoffs wasn't in with like a crowd? People forget this. That was before Bit. What fucking Flamey was in that lineup? Flamey and young Pumic as the IGL. Like, bro, he was winning tournaments with actively, like, bad or average-ass players. So I think you've hated on fucking Simple too much on this example guy making this one. Like, in no way is ropz, aside from resume, he is not ahead of Simple. And I'm sorry, GOAT conversation can't only be the resume. It has to be, like, resume plus how you played the game. And what's sad is, I'm normally the guy saying ropz is better than people think. I had that take only last year. Like, he's more impactful than Nico the last few years, etc. So how are we going to now make him like him and Zima with the GOAT conversation? Like, spoiler, all these... I'll tell you what he's done at the end. I'll end on this point. I think ropz is the GOAT of one thing only. He's not even the GOAT lurker, by the way. There's someone called Get Right existed, was like arguably the best player for about 6 straight years across 2 different video games, including all the best players. So I'll just throw that out there. But here's why he's not the fucking GOAT player. Because, mate, what is so mad about this take is he is only the GOAT of one thing. I think he has the best instincts ever for when to make a move in his career. He only fucked up one time, which is he stayed in MOUZ for 1 extra year because they gave him a big contract. Aside from that, I think he has been so shrewd with when he joined and when he left teams. That is what's amazing. But no, I don't. Here's what I don't like, essentially, Kassad. It goes like this. In this person's brain, Vitality, when they had Spinks, is the fault of everyone in that team. Then when ropz joins, all the championships go to ropz. It's like, well, no, because what about Zemo? He was doing a lot of fucking heavy lifting. Also, he did say in this comment here that ropz carried all these teams. He didn't carry any of these teams, you fuck. By the way, he definitely didn't carry FaZe. It was a really balanced squad. And if you're telling me he carried Zemo, get the fuck out of my face. Except maybe in the semi in the final of this one last major, that's it. You can never say anyone carried Zemo. That is an outrageous take, man.
I don't think he carried Zyvo, definitely. He didn't carry Zyvo. Nobody carries Zyvo.
No one. You can't.
But he did carry FaZe a little bit.
He was the best player at one point in time.
He carried MOUZ later on. There is always the same conversation ends in the same way. How do we measure GOAT? How do we measure greatness? Is it the titles? Is it the longevity? Is it this? Is it the MVPs? Like, we'll use Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant had a 20-year-old career, like, you know, and then he had only 1 MVP, right?
Yep.
Only 1 in 20 years. Like, people consider him the GOAT. Right. Like, he was a special, extraordinary player, but only 1 MVP. Like, Simple had all the MVPs, all the performances, but no titles. Not enough, at least. Then Zyvo has both a little, you know, when you think about it. Even though we don't count some of them, the online ones. Also, there is a question of, do we count only CS2 or CSGO? Or we count 1.6 where Get Right was a fucking, together with Forrest and Neo, was a fucking god of everything. Like, what do we count? Do we count CS2 only? Or we don't use that?
Most people just count CSGO and CS2, it sounds like, you know.
If we count CSGO and CS2, then Simple is there. Like, next to Zyvo, nobody can say. Anybody who says it's not, it's a fool.
Oh, wait, did you mean only for CS2?
I was thinking only about CS2, right?
Doesn't Don get to be in the conversation too, though? He would do a lot of trophies as well.
Listen. If I only think about CS2, or if the guy thinks about CS2, that counters his arguments about MOUZ and FaZe.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, there is no MOUZ and FaZe in that equation, right? There is no Simple as well. There's only Zyvo and maybe a little bit of Donk. But Donk had 1 good year as a team, right? He has 2 individually fucking...
Still won Cologne last year.
Yeah, but still, in that major in Shanghai, and then what happened? Is that enough? Or he's taking the Simple trajectory where he's winning all the individual stuff but not the titles? Does that going to trigger the transfer to... There is so many aspects that we can go on to this discussion and conversation up until the morning, and no person will be right or wrong. Because if I think differently, if my perspective is different than yours, then we can, never kind of really agree on the same thing.